Hey, I've got a question for you today. What can you do when you find yourself in an anti-God culture? This is such an important question to answer. Now, for many of us, we might live in the suburbs or we're further along in life, and maybe we forget what it's like to be a teenager or a young adult when you're just much more in tune with wanting to be accepted and with the culture around you. And it's also hard for us to really understand how much American culture has changed for teenagers who are coming of age now, or young adults who are. So how can we find ourselves, and then how can we help young people in a university or in a classroom or among coworkers, be who God wants them to be in an anti-God setting? We saw in verse 6 that Daniel and then his three buddies, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they were four of the young men chosen for this indoctrination program in Babylon. And we learned it's so symbolic that Daniel uses their original Hebrew names, their God-given names. In fact, you get the idea that when they would talk to each other, when they're hanging out in the evening after the training session is done, Daniel's calling Mishael, and Mishael's calling Daniel. They're not using their Babylonian names with each other. That's why you need close Christian friends no matter what age you are. But when everything in the culture is anti-God or the current is moving away from God, here's something you need to know. God has placed you strategically. God had a reason for these four young men being in Babylon. They would change the course of human history. God had a reason for them being there. God has a reason for every young teenager, every college student, every American in their 20s who's a follower of Jesus for being placed here and now. And can I encourage you with this, my brothers and sisters on Daily Hope? There's a reason that God placed you at this moment in history. I believe we each have a part to play in raising up the next generation to live for Christ in these challenging times. For some of us, it's, creating the Bible teaching. For others, it's one-on-one discipleship or having a small group of college students. I think for all of us, we should be on the lookout. When you meet a teenager or a young adult who is on fire for God, invest in them. Pave the way for them. Make it easy for them to be an ambassador for God. Encourage them. Pour fuel on their fire. I think back to my 20s when God got a hold of my heart. There were key people who invested in me. There was a gal named Diane Hackala who paid for my seminary education. There were others who just along the way said, hey, if you're trying to serve God in these times, we're going to help you serve God. I think every one of us is called to do that. As I mentioned yesterday, our Youth Worldview initiative here at Connection Point, you can be part of that by serving with us or by donating to it in a way that changes young people who will change the culture. So there's a reason that God has placed you at this moment in human history. Think about this. You could have been born as an Aztec or as an Egyptian. You could have been born in ancient India or ancient China. But God has placed you at this century, in this civilization, in this culture, for you to have the impact that He's created you to have. Don't miss out on it. I'll see you tomorrow.